Hi everyone, it's me again. I'm Gary, and today I'm still going to continue my content for everybody. Even though the few launches has been over, quite a bit of hype from January all the way until March. As promised, I'll still continue doing my content, and this time around, not so much about the product, not so much about the new launches, but into a different kind of a perspective, into something that is very common also. I'm sure a lot of viewers also will be asked by their agents, or even they also ask themselves, which is better, new launch or resale condo? Today's discussion, there will be a few points that I'll mention out. Okay, number one, of course, I'll talk about is what does most of the salesperson usually say to you as a consumer when you meet them, when you ask them, hey, which one is better, resale or new project? Maybe this is something we'll talk on. And then next one we can mention is what is wrong with resale. I'll give a bit of a balanced view in this discussion because I feel that both has its own pros and cons. It really depends a lot on buyer's current situation. What can they live with? What can they do without? I think this is something that is very important also. And number three, not all hopes are gone for resale lah. I'll show you some examples whereby there are also good resale condos, good resale projects, some of the attributes that are there that helps to ensure that there is some appreciation at this point if we were to use it as a benchmark for something, whether is it good or not. Of course, we'll talk about new launches. What is in it for new launches? If we were to go for new launches, that means to say you have a waiting period, 3 years, 4 years. Now should be around 4 years. They can build it quite quickly. What can we deal with while during this waiting period? Do you have a place to stay, parents' place, another house that your parents have, bunk in with your friends? If not, are we going to rent? Because renting is also a maybe common hurdle that some of the buyers be a bit resistant on. And of course, finally, to end off this discussion, today's topic, I have my new launch or resale qualifier checklist. And this helps me to assert my viewers or anyone that needs to navigate this concept to find out which is a better choice for you. Okay, if you like my content, if you like to see my face, remember to like and subscribe. I hope to bring you more valuable insights about real estate in Singapore, and of course, based on my experience, close to around more than 9 years in this industry, and how I can share it with my viewers. Okay, so let me kick off with this content. A quick search on Google, you can see a lot of people are talking about it ever since I think maybe I started industry 2017, 2018, right up to post-COVID. You see 99Co has been talking about it. Even some of the new launch condos Singapore is a very common website, they talk about it. And if you look at PLB, they also talk about it. In fact, they talk about it very often, 3 different kinds. And so I think this is a very common topic that revolves around a lot of consumers, and hence I hope my direction in this content can give you some clarity in your choice. One common thing that when you talk about with real estate agents or salesperson in Singapore is that I think highly likely, this might sound familiar. Gary, are you asking me to buy a new launch again? Are we supposed to look at new projects? Why most of the salesperson will recommend me new projects? Okay, so I think to better be able to navigate these 2 different choices, right? Let me give you the different views. And usually I will share with my buyers or homeowners. I feel that it is your choice at the end of the day, for sure. I'll bring out the pros and cons of both sides, and then you see which one actually fits you better. Okay, so let's look at resale. Why agents don't really recommend resale? What is wrong with resale? Number one thing, of course, most buyers, when they look at price point, they look at budget, they look at lower PSF. A common thing most of the buyers I meet is resale PSF is so much lower than new launch. Likely, it'll be a better choice. If we go about this direction, then obviously resale seems very appealing. On the flip side, how I look at it, to me, I feel that resale, there is always a price gap from the day one of the launch. And another 2 more things that I also realize as I do more often in this industry is how do I get my resale price to go up if valuation don't go up? That's number 1. Number 2 is how far am I away from the first owner's price point? That's another thing, which is the price gap that we are talking about. If you look at the chart, this chart is a very nice way to show you how property from day one right up all the way until in the resale market. And you can see if you follow me in the last few years in the resale market, it has been quite a bit of a stagnant and not a very significant push up in the prices. And this, I feel, is one thing that sort of resists the valuation in the future when you want to exit from the market. And this is one thing about resale that most of the resale buyers need to be aware of, especially when they are purchasing something of a higher value, for instance. And finally, of course, is the first owner's purchase price, because I always feel that the first owners always have a very safe downside protection and then the upside potential. Whereas when you come into as a resale owner, you always come in middle of the pricing, and your risk of course is the first day owner not having to sell at the same price or higher than you, if in case they need to let go and move to something else. So I guess this is something that for resale owners they should be aware of lah. At least you know what you are getting yourself into, so that down the road, because maybe you really like this location, maybe you really like to be very near the MRT, you value convenience, you value near your parents, you value a certain school, then okay, fine, let's go for resale, for example. Any hopes for resale? Not all gloomy lah, because end game, if you pick the right property, the right unit type, which I'm going to talk about later, I think you can still see some form of potential or upside down the road. For example, if we look at the Vales, which is resale EC in Sengkang. Granted, they are very new. The very interesting thing that I always want to show my buyers, if those people with very short holding period of just 3 years, how did it fare? Especially when they bought in during 2021 period, close to 2022, when it is sort of the post-COVID hype sort of going on to the peak. Most people are actually quite fearful of buying also. Are they buying into the high? Is it too expensive? Eventually, you can see those owners at the Vales who bought a 2-bedroom, okay, initially, eventually also made about 345,000, 335,000, close to even the 3-bedroom made about 400,000. I think this to me is also a good indicator that these condos are still profitable and it is still quite a safe way to enter or to look at. And why is it so? Later I'll explain to you. Of course, then what other projects also, for example, the rainforest, all the way in the northwest area, Choa Chu Kang area, maybe location is not as fantastic. Yes, it might be a bit nearer to the MRT, but then again, if you look at the owners that bought during 2021 period, they too also made about 300,000 and even 500,000 if they pick the right and big size 3-bedroom. This is actually very important to showcase at least these condos has a bit of a demand, because if there's no demand, no buyers willing to 500,000, 300,000 just to the second owner and come in as the third owner. So I feel that there must be certain attributes that helps to anchor down on certain resale projects, and this is actually very important if we are picking on to the resale. Then the next one is, most people will know this project is Jadescape. Likewise, I went to see those that bought in the last few years. In fact, interestingly, there's someone that bought just 2 years ago in 2023 and also tried to sell it away, obviously having to pay SSD lah. I would not sure why someone would want to do this, but then again, he still made a profit of 55,000. Okay, not the best, but the next person that holds slightly longer two-bedroom, okay, made about 260,000, made about 10% annualized potential. And if you look at it in the following one, the 3-bedroom made about 546,000. This helps me to at least give buyers some assurance that resale is not all gloomy. It's just we need to know what and where to look at, and what are some of the attributes, which also is inside one of my previous content that talks about my project investment rating, and this helps you to search certain resale projects whether they are worthy to buy or not. And finally, last one I would like to share is Esparina. And interestingly, Esparina, which is in Bangkok area, right next to the MRT, also a resale EC, relatively old, should be hitting its 10 years mark this year, also shows very good growth potential for even short holding periods of 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. There's someone of a 4-bedroom that sold for 700 to 800,000. And in fact, there was one of our colleague that actually bought into Esparina unknowingly. He was supposed to look for a new project, but it can't fit his family requirements because he really need to transit fast. He sold off his previous house and he doesn't want to have a waiting time or move back to parents' place. Fortunately, picked Esparina, and today he's sitting on at least a good profit of around 600,000. I wouldn't say any love loss in resale. It's more of why certain projects can do better than the others. Then if you are keen to find out and if you need some of this comparison, right, do feel free to reach out to me, comment below, and or you can also reach out to me on the WhatsApp below. We can have a bit of discussion on this and a bit furthermore to find out also what is your objective for your move. Most important. Okay, so what about new launch? What is the key difference about new launch? Why is there a big hype? Why is it even this topic comes about? I guess also because new launch generally seems a bit more expensive, or rather very much more expensive than those projects, especially those that TOP maybe the last 10 to 15 years. There's a very big gap in terms of the resale price as well as the new launch prices. How do we see value in new launches? If you follow me through this graph, these are all the new launch project except for One Canberra and Lilydale. We have Jadescape Park Esta, and I also picked North Park Residence, which are relatively around 4 to 7 years kind of age group, and they do show very good resale potential, of course. because this is one of the things that I was discussing with my client about, to show them that there is also some potential in the resale. But if you look in hindsight versus those people that bought on the first day, that is the key thing. Those people that bought on the first day is the one that reaped the most amount of profit. And hence, if your objective is, Gary, today I have a place to stay, I want to focus on generating my wealth, I want to go for another round of making profits from real estate, and I think these are the group of clients that naturally will fall into the new launch kind of direction. And also, not having mentioned, in terms of cost efficiency, when we look at new launches, there is a key difference also. So if you buy into a resale, firstly, your loan is fully dispersed. That means to say your interest is running on the highest because it's full loan dispersed. Secondly, you have a property tax to pay, and thirdly, also you have your monthly maintenance fee to fork out. And finally, if there's any renovation cost that you're going to put in, if the resale is somewhat a bit on the older side, even if not, maybe you're looking at around 50 to 80k to redo a 2 or 3 bedroom condo. So these are some costs for resale that we were to consider. Okay, whereas for a new launch, you don't really have all this little costs of a renovation, property tax, or maintenance. Most important also is because it is a progressively dispersed amount over a period of 3 to 4 years. So in hindsight, when we do a tabulation for a $2.5 million purchase, likewise for resale, at around today's interest rate of around 2.5 for resale, fixed for 2 years. Okay, you can look at the total interest required payable for resale is 134,000, close to 135,000. Whereas for new launch, if we do the tabulation, it should be estimated around 50,000 round up figures. So you can see that in terms of cost efficiency, in terms of if you are a very numbers person, you want to have a high return on investment, you want to look good on the caveat to show that you have like 9 to 10% annualized gain. Sometimes people do choose to go for a new launch project so that they can have this kind of benefit. However, one key thing is what my client will always ask me, Gary, I buy new launch, they build, I stay where? I think that is something that a lot of my clients need to be able to accept. Either, number one, least cost approach, move back to parents' place. Not the most ideal if you have a family, if you have 2 kids. I don't think that's the most ideal. Maybe it can help with some childcare, but then I don't think having so many people in one household, unless the house is very big, then that will be to your advantage. Okay, alternatively, should we be renting? I think that's the key thing in comparison today. And how much should we be renting so that we make the cost looks effective? If you're not within this renting range, then I think it's also a bit difficult for you to be able to justify fully whether the new launch is a better in terms of cost efficiency as compared to resale. However, if you are a person that don't like old houses, then I think likely you will definitely go for the new launch route, even though renting might be a bit on the cost side for you. But the interesting thing about renting is, or rather why some of my clients choose to look at renting, is because actually rent has been coming down gradually over the last 6 months, I would say, because of the few new TOP units that actually come into the market. And then later I'll show you some examples of where you can rent and what kind of sizes you can be looking at. In hindsight, really for rent has been easing in 2025 onwards, and I can see so, I can feel so, because I've done a couple of rental contracts recently in the month of January, February. This month is March, and you can see that the tenant pool, the demand is also gradually coming lesser, and this is actually in a sense quite good for you coming in as a tenant, because then of course you might be able to get a good price from the landlord, especially if the landlord is seasoned and they do not want their units to be vacant. Having said that, what kind of rent makes sense if we are dealing with renting? To me, if you can keep your rent around 4,000 to 4,200, 4,300, at most 4,500, that might make sense for 3.5 years for your property to be fully constructed, and then you move in at TOP in order for your whole cost efficiency aspect to look good and your returns to look good. Key focus, if you can do 3,000, 3,500, there are also choices in the market. For example, if you want to stay near the MRT, like Eunos, we have a 1 bedroom at 3,000, 3,400, you can get a 1 bedroom. Of course, this is more suited for couples lah. Unless you really don't mind, you have 1 toddler, then everyone will be on 1 bedroom. I think that is still fine. But if you have like 2 kids, then I think it's very hard for you to pick up a 1 bedroom. Okay, then again, of course, you can also look at Gem Residence at Toa Payoh, a 2 bed 1 bath layout, 3,600, still quite reasonable. Size wise might not be the most fantastic. Then again, in terms of not changing too far out and you are still relatively near town, I think the price point still might make sense. If you are a bit more adventurous and you don't really care about the condition of the condo, how it looks like, welcome to Robinson Suites. I went to see before. It is really value for money. At 4,000, you can get a 2-bed, 1-bathroom. You literally stay right next to Lau Pa Sat. You walk down towards Raffles MRT. Just that there's a catch, of course. Why is it so affordable? Because the condo facilities are really very bad. If you don't need that, you feel that you want the location, there are always affordable options like living in CBD Robinson Suites. Please have a look. Special shout out to the agents over there. If you need to clear your listings, I help you over here. Anyway, coming down, of course, there are also other bigger units that we can consider. If you don't mind taking a few steps back, still along the MRT line, like for example, places like Yishun, Canberra, you can get a 2-bedroom there at around 3,400. Not too overly priced as well. And you get good size, 753 square feet. And all these listings, I just went to look at it today, 13th of March. So it's still relatively new. Of course, you also have Skyview at Bishan, around 3,000, 3,500. You can get a 1-bedroom if you don't mind. And if you want really value for money, Normanton Park, I think you can get a good bargain over there for renting. Okay, there is quite a fair amount of listings available of different price range. At lowest 3,300, you can easily get a 1-bed, 1-bathroom. And the only concern is if you drive or you don't, because Normanton Park is a bit away from the MRT, even though they have a shuttle bus to Kent Ridge MRT station. So having said that, I feel that if you can accept renting as an option, or maybe you find it interesting to stay in different condos, then I think maybe the new launch route is definitely a choice for you to consider. However, if you have a very big family and you don't want keep moving, these are some little hassle going on, then probably you might not want to consider the new launch route, even though you are looking at quite a decent amount of profits, having considered those launches in 2018 till TOP now, they have a decent fair amount lah. Coming down to what I want to discuss most important is my new launch or resale qualifier checklist. I enjoy doing when I meet my homeowners is to go through a checklist like this, because it gives them a sensing of can they qualify for a new launch or not. Maybe after going through their objective, number 1, the unit type they are looking at, and number 3, their budget, they are really unable to go for a new launch, I will be very upfront and also tell them that I think maybe our search lies in the resale market. This I feel help quite a few of my homeowners to make clear decisions and also to give them some assurance that okay, what they are looking is the right direction. And this is really, I feel, most important part of my job also, to give some assurance to my homeowners, to my buyers especially. So in line with this is of course my project investment rating. This will also help my homeowners to look at, especially in the resale condos, is there some potential based on the certain attributes, such as is it near the MRT, how many units are there, what are the people we're going to sell to in the future, and this gives them a figure and a comparison between the different condos that they are looking at. That is all for today. I am very happy to be able to discuss this topic with any one of you, and I hope you enjoy today's content. And feel free to reach out to me. More than happy if you're at the crossroad, if you are deciding, even if you are considering whether you want to swap out from your current place, do reach out to me. And of course, if any topic that you want to find out, want me to talk about, feel free to leave it in the comment space below. I'll be more than happy to come up with the next subject that we can discuss. If not, I will see you in my next video. I'm Gary, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.